high-risk guillotines, all right? In my opinion, pretty specific to the front headlock, okay? Whether we're here or we're standing, my head is higher than his, okay? That's gonna make it easier to actually get better grips. So let's rewind it back to like what front headlock is, right? We have the chin strap. That's a point of control on the feet, especially when we go back to when we were doing snap downs. But when we go for submissions, it's also a point of access, okay? This has been coming up a little bit this week. So when you have a chin strap, your knuckle is under your partner's chin. That gives you the ability to wrap your forearm around, okay? Like a huge, like old school mistake with guillotines is people go for a guillotine and they just try to throw their whole arm around right away and he tucks his chin, and you'll never guillotine anybody, right? Same thing with rear naked chokes. Like we go to throw this around, he tucks his chin. Okay, again, there are things like mandible chokes here, but again, it's gonna be difficult to do a lot of times. So it's always a knuckle under the chin. So I want to see all you grabbing the chin. Makes sense? All right. Now, the next part we got to worry about is getting a high risk position. Okay. Most guillotines you guys have seen, I've probably taught you so far, are low risk when we're here. They're good. They're effective. Okay. One of the deficits of doing a low risk though is that Tim could pull my arm down way easier. Yeah, we run into problems with hand fights here. Now, to get a high risk, what I need to do is move my head out of the way at least. Okay. So I'm going to take my head from this side to the other side, and you guys see as I do that, that gives me the ability to bring this hand nice and high. Okay, my fingers are even past the shoulder. Now when I trap this hand with either my chest or my shoulders, if Tim tries to pull this down, it's extremely difficult. All right, so I have my chin strap, okay? Our head is typically on the side, we're almost in a low sprawl. When I go for a high wrist, I'm just gonna move my head from here to here, and as I do that, my wrist is gonna come high, okay? You should feel like you have such good space here that your arm gets stuck when you do this, okay? Chest on my hand. And at the end of your rep, you can have your partner like try to pull this off a little bit. And it should be really, really tough. Like a low risk guillotine, there's a lot of different places we can take this. Later on in class, we'll talk about arm in guillotines. For now, we're just gonna be under the impression that he's not defending, okay? Or like he just put it in the first place. Like, long story short, we just got a good grip here. And this is usually going to be the case when he's not trying to grapple, but rather just pull the arm down. Okay, so yeah, you bring your hands in. That's just going to leave space right here. And it's going to make it easier to go to an armless guillotine right away, specifically the high elbow. Okay? This would be almost like a double low elbow. This is probably the most traditional one. Okay? The only reason I don't like to do this too much is, again, he has the ability to take this arm and bring it over my head. Okay, that's the risk of doing it. This kind of goes into the shift. We were doing this earlier this week. As I move my head around and I think about going high elbow, I'm also going to move the rest of my body around the corner too, okay? I'm going to be looking to take my free hand and get my middle finger around my own wrist here, okay? If you guys want a nice little teaching tool, this is something I like to do. Make a fist with this, and it's going to influence you to grab your wrist more than your actual hand, which is stronger. From here, this is very similar to like an arm bar from a mount, okay? When I fall back, I want to have as much control of my lower body as possible, right? Big problem with guillotines is you start to swipe through and sit through. If there's no control over the lower body, you'll go this way, you'll go this way, you'll roll over the top, lots of things. Not only easier for him to defend, but also easier for him to put you in a bad position, right? So for now, for these first two drills, I'm going to recommend that you guys get lower body control before you proceed, okay? The first one here is probably arguably going to be the strongest, but it's not going to be the most accessible for everybody. We'll talk about that as we move on here. I want you guys to keep rotating as much as you can until you can put your leg over your partner's back like this. Now you'll see when I fall, I have good traction over his hips. Okay? Now guys, when you fall, this is important. This goes into front headlock. I cannot disconnect my shoulder from his back. So do not fall straight back. Okay? This is also going to go right into an immediate finish too. You want to fall towards the choke, which is actually the mechanic for finishing the choke too. Crunching our elbow and our shoulder and our lap, right? So just to recap, we're here, wrist high, make a fist if you need to. Okay? You guys see I have a high elbow, it's really hard for him to grab my neck now. Yes. Okay. While it's doing all that, I can throw my leg over that. To get a nice sit through here, guys, so you can get to the mat easily without falling gonna swivel it towards my right leg, and that's gonna influence me to fall more to my hip. Okay, now to finish, all I'm gonna do is drop my left shoulder. I don't really squeeze too much when I do this. I kind of actually save that for the end if I need to. There's low time in the match, okay? Guy's not passing out. Yeah, I'll put a little extra squeeze on it. But focus on mechanics first. Guys, another mechanic here. While you're dropping your shoulder, make sure you're pulling your legs in too. Okay? So this will go for both mounted guillotines and guillotines when we're on our back. Don't get me wrong, this is the biggest thing. Okay? But it's also going to help build tension and solidify the position. Regardless of where your legs are, just take them and pull your knees to your shoulders. For an arm bar, this is like a classic white belt with a mistake. People fall back, and then they try to throw the leg over. Yeah. And then the person scrambles and gets on top. Fight the temptation here to be like, okay, I'm going to throw the leg over as I'm sitting back. Okay. Just for fun, do a forwards roll when I fall back. Okay. I'm going to throw the leg over. Yep. See, he has full mobility of his hips. Okay. You can try to do this same thing, but be careful. You're not going to go deep. So here. I have control of his hips now, guys.
All starts from what we did the last few weeks. Keep your shoulder on the middle of your partner's back. This is where this all starts. Not just for controlling the front headlock, but also for choking people here. Okay, especially with the guillotine. So from here, again, we shift off to the center, we move our head so we can get a high wrist. Okay, off of the high wrist, I grab my own wrist and I make a high elbow. Again, this is for two reasons. To make the choke tighter, but also so Ed doesn't go around my neck to defend. Okay? Yeah, it's very difficult. Now from here, instead of falling back and giving him the opportunity to scramble, we're gonna throw our leg over the back first. It's gonna make it difficult. Now, a little tip here, guys, watch my left foot. I'm just gonna collapse it so it's easier to fall to my hip without disconnecting. Hey guys, look, I don't fall straight back. That's gonna disconnect your shoulder. You fall towards the choke. You should literally feel their head folding like this. If it's not, that means you're not dropping your shoulder. Does that make sense? So you will see people sometimes out of necessity or preference that when they go here, instead of grabbing their own wrist, they'll make an S grip. That's fine. Again, guys, grips aside, armless or arm-in guillotines, the common denominator with all of this is that you're going to be dropping your shoulder to choke them. I do this in the gi sometimes because I actually have a few guillotine variations in the gi where I choke them with my palm in the collar. Here. Sometimes here, if we want to choke them one-handed, okay, if we feel like we can throw our leg over, but it's not exactly the tightest, like that heel's not curling, like, you know, it's slipping off, okay, we can actually use our free hand to also grab across the back, almost like we're in closed guard, okay? And it is possible here to hit a one-handed variation, okay? So from here, with or without the leg, here, just grabbing his back, okay? Now, the reason why I'm bringing that up is, again, when I show you guys a lot of submissions, rear naked chokes, heel hooks, that's one too. I always give you guys positions where you can test your mechanics, and a lot of times just with one hand, right? So what changes when we enter in from things like butterfly guard is you guys are going to be using more of a low risk position. If I ever do like good forward shifts and I bring him in for the sumigation, he posts, and we pass the head like we were doing last week. Guys, I can blade my chest all I want, but you see, this looks the same, but it's not where it was with the other one. So a lot of times when you lock up here, your wrist is gonna end up low, but still, you should be doing a lot of the same thing. You guys watch fight footage or jiu-jitsu matches, the majority of guillotines are low wrist, okay? Whether it's high elbow or arm in. So guys, we don't always need to necessarily approach it like this, okay? That's pretty specific for a high risk, okay? Instead of shifting to the side, we can also elect to do things where we get a really tight front headlock here. I'm really pulling my hands up, and we can look for ways to sit them up and then actually sit back through like this. If they reach between the legs for like a high crotch style takedown, you're getting a crucifix, okay? So if we're ever here, like don't get me wrong, even if he's reaching between the legs, like I could still just drop back and finish him here, okay? But let's say you're more crucifix and guillotine, or your grip is loose, whatever the case is, guys, if he does this, we can always just switch our controls here and start to attack the crucifix as well. Like you'll feel it, right? You can't back heel and attach and your legs just slipping off. This happens all the time. Instead of throwing your leg over the back, you're gonna make a butterfly hook. Okay? And this is really good if I fall back without throwing the leg over as well. But I'm gonna recommend that you guys practice it here because it's safer. Again, I don't wanna fall back without lower body control, okay? Now, don't get me wrong. When we fall back here, if I pull my knees in, I can still finish the choke. So he's able to get his hands in on my choking arm. He's able to pull it down, okay? When he does that here, he's sacrificing posts to defend the submission. That's exactly what I'm gonna sweep him with this, okay? So from here, when I sit back and I go to drop my shoulder and he's pulling that choking arm down, and I know I can't finish, we're just gonna hit another hook sweep here, another sumigaeshi from butterfly grip. So look at my left foot, it's under my right knee. Remember guys, that's our drive leg. We're driving, okay? Then from here, look what I do right away, I tripod. Okay, my forehead's on the floor, my feet are down. Now we just go back to previous weeks here where we walk up, put our butt down, drop the shoulder. I could. Here, grab your wrist, okay? Maybe we can't throw the leg over the back, or it's not your preference. Or if he's already got hands in, he's hand fighting here, okay? I want to have another layer as I fall, so I might even choose the butterfly hook, overthrowing the leg over the back, okay? Now as I sit, guys watch, my left foot's going to go right under my right knee. It's like a perfect position right there. So here, push off the mat, sumigaeshi. You guys see, you're going to land here for a brief second, okay? If it's confusing getting up here, this is what you're going to do. You're going to split your legs, turn your forehead to the mat, okay? Start to walk, step over, okay? On your toes, butts up, butt drops, and then shoulder drops. Brandon's guillotine was so good that as he sat back, Brad was just falling over, okay? I don't know if that was conscious or unconscious, but that's what you have to do to take the bite off. So guys, my point is, if you sit here and it's so good that they just fall over, you don't need your butterfly hook, okay? Just rotate, walk to the top, and then finish here, okay? What if you guys roll like that to invert it north-south? The choke's starting to fall apart and you feel like you're losing leverage. Let's take a look at what might happen there if I lose that battle. Okay, so roll over. Okay, I'm loosening up. What are you gonna do? Okay, yeah. That is one of the awkward positions where I will tell you guys to switch to an arm in. Be it with an overhook or an underhook, just so you have an attachment to your opponent's shoulder and you're able to continue grappling, okay? So we're here, maybe he rolls over, okay, it's getting loose. All right, you guys see I have a grip on the shoulder here. So now if Ulysses goes to do the same thing, okay, whichever way he goes, he just went to my left, so I pull my elbows to my right. If he goes to my right, I'll pull him to my left, okay? Can you get up? Try to go the other way. Okay, and again, I always tell you guys this when we compare high elbow versus arm in. High elbows are tighter submissions, but arm in guillotines are better for grappling. Look at one last thing we can do when everything goes wrong with our lower body. And I like to show this too, not just because it's a good follow-up, but it's also going to teach you guys really how to truly use the high elbow position, okay? Because in my opinion, some people might disagree, you're not going to do what we're about to do with any other type of guillotine, okay? I don't see why. The requisite here is, again, the high elbow. Basically what's going to happen now is Grant's going to pass my guard while I have him in the guillotine, and it's imperative that he cannot get his arm around my neck, okay? If I go for a low elbow guillotine, he goes around my neck, and he passes my guard. Okay? Not only is it really hard to strangle him, if he locks his hands here, we're going to get von Flue choked. If I keep my elbow here, that's not going to happen, okay? So we're under the assumption that we made no connections with the lower body. We didn't throw the leg over the back. We didn't have the butterfly hook in. We weren't in half guard with our left leg here, okay? I fell back, and he jumps to the side. Okay, try to grab my neck. See, we're good. Now watch, I'm just gonna turn to the side, and I'm gonna drop my left shoulder like we've been doing. If your partner goes the other way, okay, you're just gonna choke him, all right? He's going towards the submission. So if Ed decides to pass this way, so run to my left, the way it's pushing, yeah. Okay, no problem. Okay, I'm gonna loosen up a little bit. All right, jump to the other side. All right, this side's the problem. Guys, look, arm in, I drop, nothing, right? Low elbow, not only if I drop here, but he's gonna von Flue me. Yeah. Now watch when I have a high elbow.
It's almost like instant. So if I had a high elbow and Ulysses jumps and I lose it, okay, I'm either gonna get something like an underhook, an overhook, okay? I'm gonna kick my legs out to the side and I'm gonna build right back up to front headlock. Sometimes when you're on bottom, this is gonna happen more with Kimuras, but with submissions from the bottom of side control, you can actually use them to reverse people and get on top, right? We've done this with the Kimura in the past. So like, for example, if I get a Kimura here and he starts to pass, we can look at things where we look away from him and use this to get on top and finish. It's gonna be a little different with the guillotine though, okay? Usually, and if you guys remember last year when we did guillotine defense, one of the very last things we're gonna do to try to stop a guillotine is actually give up top position and roll over to try to alleviate some of the pressure, right? Let's say we fall back here and we end up in the same spot where I get in bottom of side control. He knows he's getting choked, so he just falls to his side here. Okay. Guys, another option we have for a top position, okay, is just to stay in side control. Okay, we looked at this with the cow catcher guillotine a couple weeks ago. We can do this with a high elbow as well. So all I'm gonna do is post my head and my elbow on the floor, get that split sprawl, and again, just look to drop my shoulder there, okay? But just to be clear, okay, if he allows it and if the momentum allows it, you guys can still opt to go to a mounted finish versus a side control finish. Just to give you guys some ideas what can happen if he happens to tilt the other way. You're still gonna find ways to get up the exact same way. So if I sit here and he falls back this way, you're gonna look the way you're going, okay? So if I wanna get a top position, I need to look this way this time, okay? And then from here, it'll be easier to go back to mount or side control, okay? Okay, here, we'll assume we've messed up and we didn't get any lower body control. He passes cross-side. I'm starting to apply here, but to alleviate, he drops to his side. Okay, forehead on the floor, elbow on the floor, that's another post. Head, side, leg posted, back knee off the floor, and just drop your shoulder. A high risk guillotine, it's not like mutually exclusive to a high elbow. A lot of people that are in the boat that they prefer an arm in high risk because you get the best of both worlds. You get a lot of the choking pressure of a high elbow with a lot of the control of an arm in guillotine, okay? Now, this grip is going to be really, really weird at first, okay? It's very different, in my opinion, from holding a low elbow arm in guillotine, all right? We're going to be more of like using a Lego man grip, I guess you could say, on your own wrist, okay? That's like the shallowest you can get with it. So if you have shorter arms, like that'll be the case. Or in a lot of people's preferences, they'll go all the way down to their elbow here, okay? You guys can play with both and feel which one's easier to you, okay? Now, when would I go for this over a high elbow for outside of just preference, okay? We kind of just talked about that, right? The whole class, we were just talking about him just trying to pull my arms down. Sometimes here though, he'll try to be taking me down. He'll body lock me, he'll get a single leg, whatever the case is. And if your preference is high elbow, look, that's really hard to get, okay? So this, for me personally, this is why I like both, I use both, okay? So if I can't get this, guys, I'm just gonna take the space he's giving me and then go under, okay? So you have longer arms, I'm grabbing my own elbow, okay? If not, you guys can grab your own wrist, all right? This is really gonna teach you to hold the guillotine versus squeeze it. This is a pretty awkward position, okay? For now, if you guys aren't sure, I just want you to finish by either putting the butterfly hook in or throwing the leg over the back. They're both accessible with this, okay? The only one I'm not gonna recommend is the one where on the bottom side control, because there's a shoulder in the way. It's way less likely to work or at all. So here, leg over the back. Now guys, good news, you're still doing the same thing. Even though it's arm in, drop your shoulder. I can't grab my elbow, just go right here. Okay? If you feel like this is tough, that probably actually means your arms are too long. Grab your elbow. Okay. Alright, so we're here, okay? Either he's reaching out or we just prefer to go under the armpit here. We're still going high risk, grabbing my elbow, or if I can't reach, I'm just holding my own wrist in place again like you're a Lego man or a woman, whatever. Okay, here. Alright, I'll do one with the butterfly hook. Start to drop, okay? Something called a front naked choke. Alright, so instead of grabbing your own wrist, going under, you would literally just make a rear naked choke grip, sit through,